There we go. So, welcome to the Soul Salon
Yes.
and
And
8 Red Trees Tarot. And it's Monday and it's sort of sunny.
it is. It's
And
nice.
it's nice out. It's okay. We've got incense going, so we might have to put that outside so we don't all choke. Um,
And if we look a bit smoky, that's why.
and if it looks a bit smoky, that's why. It's nothing. It's not herb. It's just incense. Um, and we've come together today for our second video.
We have, and we're going to take a look at the Fool's Journey through the Major Arcana.
So we say welcome to everyone,
Yes.
anyone who's listening, any of you souls in a boat floating along the world's current, welcome to us. We hope that you enjoy this.
And whether you've never seen a deck of tarot cards before or whether you're a seasoned professional, we hope that we'll give you something to think about.
Absolutely. So like we said last time, make a cup of tea.
Yeah, we've got
cups of tea here. Sit down, enjoy yourself, be relaxed, and come with us on a little journey.
Yes, definitely. Now, just to say, we've got the RiderWaiteSmith. We've decided to use the RiderWaiteSmith just because it's familiar for people, and if anybody is looking to study the tarot, that is a deck that you'll find in most books, and
is the starter deck, isn't it? It's what everybody works with.
Yeah, so it's a good it's a good universal deck to work with for this, I think.
And I think with the reading you and I have been doing in preparation as well, it may be worth mentioning that another original deck would be the Marseille deck.
Yes,
definitely. That's a very original deck. And in the Marseille deck, it's strength and justice are switched. So in the Marseille, just for sake of completeness, if you laid them all out, it would look like that.
And I just want to say before we switch them back again, look at the stance of the magician, justice, and the devil.
We've got the same, doesn't it?
We've got the same hand placements almost.
Yeah, it does. It works.
So you can see where the influence and the inspiration has come.
Do we know? Because as far as anyone understands, the Marseille deck predates obviously the RiderWaiteSmith deck. Do we know why they switched it?
He switched them because of the astrological alignments,
that references
that were in the cards. I'm sure it was the astrological ones. So strength is and I'm not quite sure why strength I would imagine is Leo,
yeah.
Justice is Libra. It's got to be with the scales.
Okay,
I'm sure it is. I do know a little bit about astrology, but not massive amounts. So, but I think that's why that's part of the reason they switched it
around. But that does work better in the alignment it is.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it can work. And it can work either way. You can see the reasoning behind having them both ways. So yes. And
we've got them laid out like this because the Fool's Journey goes through, we've been talking about this quite a bit, you and I, that you've got the 3 layers that occur in your journey. So there's like 3 stages you go through. Here is almost your birth stage. It's your true essence that is, in a sense, at first unadulterated, and then it's moving through, it's learning. There's a lot of parental attitude up here. There's a lot of guidance. There's a lot of going deep.
I see the Fool almost as like the spirit.
The spirit, yeah.
And even when we come to the magician and the high priestess, it being the 2 aspects of that spirit.
Yes, the masculine, the yin and the yang.
The masculine and the feminine. And then we go into the earthly.
Yes, so the mother and the father aspect. And then you move into your teacher aspect, because this would have been the Pope at one point. It would have been your bringing your spiritual understanding into an earthly understanding. And this is a bit more rigid. It's a bit more about your doctrines writing it down. It makes me think of like when you were in high school and you'd write the lyrics to songs down,
Yes.
and you know what I mean.
And nowadays, we'd probably take it more in the context of school.
Yes.
Of
Oh,
going
yes.
of
Yes. Yes. Yes.
education,
Yeah.
of school.
Absolutely. But it's still doctrines, isn't it? It's
It is,
still.
yes.
It's learning society's rules in a way. It's learning.
Well, we're taught, aren't we? You only have to look at things like history. We're
Yes.
taught history from our point
From
of view,
our point of view,
not from the point of
absolutely.
view of anybody else concerned, from other countries, other cultures. We're not taught about it. We've taught about it from, or when we were at school, we were very much taught about it from our own point of views.
Well,
So,
as they say, history's written by the winners. So history's,
it's,
you know.
it's again, it's, doctrine,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So you could even see the disciples as being the pupils.
The pupil, absolutely.
Within the education.
Well, and also, I mean, I know for a lot of people, I think you have to accept that religion exists, and religion is very important to a lot of people.
Yes.
And it doesn't. Again, one of the reasons you and I have talked about doing these videos is that we want to bring. I want to bring more of the natural current of the interplanetary existence into being. Like,
Yes.
not so much, again, almost avoiding what this becomes, which is this idea that, well, these are the doctrines I follow, so I can't look left or right, and this is all I have. It's understanding that contradictions can exist in the same space, different ideas can exist in the same space, and that, at one point, the clergy were the educated. The clergy were the ones who could read or write. The clergy were the ones that could pass on the information to people. So you can see why you would choose this card as the teaching card.
I think what's interesting as well, because now obviously we have the internet, we have knowledge available to us within seconds of us deciding we want to look at it. So we can almost see the Hierophant as maybe somebody who's an influencer as well.
Yeah.
But we can also see the Hierophant as ourselves, because we have the ability to teach ourselves now.
Absolutely.
We're not reliant on, we're not reliant on a priest. We're not reliant on a teacher. We very much, obviously we learn from our environment, from the emperor and empress, from the parental figures within our lives. But before we branch out and become the lovers, we have, all that information available to us. Yeah. So, and there's a dark side to that as well, because we also have the influences that,
well, it depends on your motivation for why you do things.
But hopefully
ego comes. For me, actually, I like to think of these journeys that we do in terms of the babe, back to the babe, but the golden babe, the learned babe. Do you know what I mean?
Where we've gone full circle.
You've gone full circle. So for me, these ones go from the purity of birth and childhood, where, like we say, children don't, okay, so as far as I'm aware, and if anybody out there has information to the contrary, that things have changed, but my understanding has always been human beings are only born with two innate fears: fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Yeah. Everything else is taught. So you put a bunch of kids together, different genders, different races, different beliefs, they don't care. They just hang out, they'll be together. This is that. Yes. This is that beauty. Now, when we bring it to the earth, this is the greatest responsibility to me of the cards, because you are now that is manifested, and now you have to anchor it to the earth. So how do you teach it? You're shaping it.
You are.
And if these three, because of course, as you move from the parents, you start to look at the outside world, and who are some of the first people you come across? They're your teachers. They're maybe doctors. They're people that you get out into the outside world who, the first time that you're dealing with outside adults, that's what it is.
Yeah.
This, again, very, very responsible, because if you have somebody who has negative tendencies, racist tendencies, misogynistic tendencies, sexist tendencies, whatever, you are now feeding that and tainting the essence with that. Yes. So these are really important, because then from there you take it out into the world, and this is how you expound into the world, and it becomes a case of who are you to yourself, who are
Yeah.
you to other people, what are your interpersonal relationships,
Yes, very
and
much.
they are going to be incredibly influenced by this.
Yes, I suppose here we've got the nature versus nurture, haven't
Yes,
we?
yes.
You know,
Nature versus nurture, I think.
yes,
Yeah,
nature versus nurture.
yeah,
You know, who are you? What are your tendencies? You know, underlying tendencies.
absolutely.
We, you know, and we can question, can't we? What makes somebody become?
Yeah,
What makes
yeah,
somebody do something bad? I don't want to
yeah.
say what makes somebody become a bad person, because there's levels of that,
As
isn't there?
always, and everyone carries everything in
But
them.
what makes us believe certain things? You know, whether you're brought up within a religion that's
Yeah.
important to your parents or your
Or
caregivers.
anything, like even people, England, the Lionesses, up the Lionesses, who just
Yes.
won the Euros for a
Oh, which
second
was
time,
amazing.
really chuffed. But even in sports teams, you know, especially in this country, I mean, I'm from Canada originally,
Mm.
so we have a bit of the tribalism, but not to the level that you've got here with
Oh
sports teams.
gosh,
And
yes.
you hear people talk about this, that my child will be a supporter of,
Of
and it's
X team,
now
yeah.
some people are malleable and it's just a bit of, but some
some
people
it's
are,
yeah. Oh
yeah.
gosh,
You
yeah.
you wouldn't give their child, if they were a Liverpool supporter and you turned up at a 1-year-old birthday party and handed them a Man
Yeah.
United shirt. You
You'd
know what
be
I mean?
like,
You get
yeah,
crucified by some
of
people, and
course.
it becomes that
It,
children,
you are.
nature is drinking in that nurture, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Whereas here at the Full, we've got that purity, that
everything.
uncapped potential,
Yeah,
haven't we? You know, where you can become anything. And the Full, he's got everything. As we've got the magician here, where he's got all the elements. He's got, you know, the cups, the pentacles, the wands, and the sword on the table, and he's got the infinity symbol. So the again limitless potential. We've got all the growth around him. Whereas the Fool here, it's all really within the knapsack. Or
yes,
I
it
would see
is.
it
Yeah,
as
yeah.
being that within the
Well,
knapsack.
the fool's got everything. So the fool has the potential. I was just
It's
reading in this.
within.
It's within, but it was interesting. So what I was just reading about is the fool is also the trickster as well. Like the fool
Mm.
encompasses all sides, and they were it's the tarot. Let's pop this up for a sec. This book is the one we've been taking information from.
You've been
I
reading
have.
that one.
I've been reading this one.
I've got my very battered old version of 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack.
This is the
amazing.
Sally Nichols. And what's interesting is Sally Nichols' take on it, which I quite liked, was that the fool will do something and kind of pop up like April Fools. It'll pop up. Like, do you know what it makes you think of? Like in sitcoms. So you have this week's episode and the fool pops up and he does his thing and it's like, wow, hey, this happened, and it's either good or bad. The fool doesn't care. The fool isn't hanging around. The fool is movement and air and flow. And there is nothing grounded and manifest in the fool. The fool is the idea. It's the ephemeral. But when you come to the magician, the fool tries to do sleight of hand to trick you. The fool doesn't want you to see him. The fool is that will-o'-the-wisp, whereas the magician wants you looking straight at him or her, but it's sleight of hand. It's deliberately shifting your view. So something is happening here and you're not seeing it, and something is occurring over there. So that he's doing it almost in a deliberately manifested way. It's grounded to the earth, if that makes sense.
And I think also with the magician, we don't have the same. Although we've got the lemniscate, so the infinity symbol, we don't have the same limitless freedom that we do as the Fool, because we have almost got that physical limitation.
You're
as
bringing
we're coming
it
coming into that body, that physical body.
But it's still described as the fool in a way, because the magician is the alchemical. You know, it's the turning lead into gold idea.
It's a blending of the two, isn't it?
It was described, and I really like this, that what the magician reminds us of is reality is what we see it as and what our perceptions are, because they show you a cup and you think the cup is empty, and then they pull something out of the cup, and it by that sleight of hand, by that changing it, your reality is instantly shifted. That what you thought was real wasn't. This is what's real, and how things can be altered. Again, I guess don't judge a book by its cover, that type of mentality, that you can have sleight of hand. And so just because you've decided on, I don't know, a meaning placed onto something, it doesn't mean that's sacrosanct and that's the only meaning for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alchemically, it can change. And if you have the power to do that and see that, the danger is it can make you a manipulator.
Yes. And that's where we go when we've got the magician in his, shall we say, less flattering aspect.
Yes.
Whether that's in reversal. I mean, I don't tend to read with reversals, but whether he's in a, you know, a less flattering position within a spread or within a meaning, it's about the ego and where, you know,
Where does the
where
ego
do we
go?
take us? Whereas the high priestess, as he is action, she is passivity.
Well, she's contemplation to me. She is when you turn your eyes inward behind the veil.
It's what we've got inside. We've all the answers, if we were to turn inward, are available to us.
Absolutely.
But as these physical manifestations, we find that really difficult to comprehend, that we, you know, everything is available to us. And it's how we reach that point, isn't it, as well? As we come into the world, we still, as very young children and as babies, have that ability to see spirit, to sense things. Because logic,
well, we haven't dulled it.
Logic hasn't told us that no, that isn't possible, or nobody else at that point has told us no, it isn't possible. And you see, with young children, if it's encouraged and nurtured, then they have the potential to carry that on, whereas it's through fear very much, especially here, it's you know, quietened down. But it's a reminder that you can actually see the water behind the curtain, and between that and the pillars. So it's that emotion as well, but it's, what do we see? What does the water represent? And to me, the water represents that otherworldliness that we still have access to at this point, before society's told us that it's wrong.
I also see the priestess as being, because she's the yin to the magician's yang, she's an anchoring force, that because you've got the limitless possibility of creation here, how do you not turn into a megalomaniac?
Yes.
She's your anchoring force. And that if you are doing something from a true nature, from an authentic nature, you use her. She's like your daily mindfulness, where you stop and you contemplate, you look inward, and you really honestly answer, what is my motivation for doing what I'm doing? What is my purpose?
This with integrity.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you do something and you're like, well, actually, I'm just doing this to make some money, that's fine. Be honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Don't dress it up like, I'm doing this to make money, but I'm going to dress it up like charity and I'm a kind person and a good person. Be honest about what it is.
Well, actually, do you know what? I have to make a living as well.
Yeah, so absolutely. You know, this is what I'm doing it for. It doesn't mean it has to sully it. I think what sullies it is when you lie.
Yes, if you're authentic about your motivations and your reasoning for doing things, very much
you're true to yourself then, which is what this is about being able to be true to who is your true nature. Is it getting subsumed in the external nature that is going to come, or are you able to stay anchored and understand that while you might have to make adaptations to exist in the outside world, where are your own lines? Where are the boundaries you draw? And it's a very individual thing. Like, it's I think it's important to understand that we do things on our own, not alone necessarily. Like, there's a nuance there. It's like the difference between being alone and being lonely.
Yes.
We all ultimately walk these paths alone, because nobody can climb inside your mind. Nobody can get in there and know whether you're really being honest or not. That's up to you.
Yes.
You have to decide, are you going to be grown up enough to say, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be all these things. What's that? And I never remember the song. Well, I know the song, but I never remember the singer. I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a wife, I'm a mother. Meredith Brooks, that's it. And I always think about that, because we are all those things. Can you be honest about your motivations when you're in any of those manifestations, and know that nothing has to stay the same? It can all flow. So you can be one thing one day and another thing another day, and still be true to yourself if you're anchored.
Yes. And she's the reminder as well to actually be within balance, to keep that balance. Because we think of the high priestess very much as the otherworldly aspect of the self.
It feels almost too ephemeral and untouchable, doesn't it?
Then we've got to remember she's got the triple moon.
Yes.
So she's got the aspects of the maiden, the mother, and the crone.
Yeah.
Which, when we go back to pagan beliefs, or any kind of witchcraft, it's all very earth-centric.
Yeah, it is earth-centered.
So,
yes, it is.
You know, it's a reminder that we have to be grounded in order to reach that level of intuition and you know, so we need to look within, but we also need to be part of the outside world as well.
Absolutely.
In her less flattering form, she becomes too withdrawn, and she can also become too self-centered as well, because it's all about me. But if she
becomes too serious, isn't it? It's like people who take things, everything has to have a meaning in it, everything has to be really deep, and everything has to be, and you get a bit like, look,
and sometimes you're like, it's just what it is.
You know what, the reason that person turned left instead of right in front of you is just because they were turning left instead of right. It doesn't mean that there is a sign in it. Like sometimes you've just got to allow life to occur. And she can be in danger of holding it too tightly, where you're looking for meaning in everything, so you actually stagnate because you're constantly examining everything rather than being able to examine but then move forward.
You know, which is why we almost spend the whole of the journey trying to reintegrate those two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas when we get to the Empress and the Emperor, they're very much the earthly manifestation, aren't they? And the Empress, she's the creativity, she's the sensuality, she's all the lovely ideas that you come up with. But we need the structure and the rules of the Emperor.
Absolutely.
You know,
and I really want to keep bringing back that, especially in a day when there's a lot of arguments about the idea of gender fluidity.
Yes.
Which I am a great supporter of. I believe in gender fluidity. I think we can be all things, and we get scared as human beings because I think in general our society never grew beyond the mother-father archetype. We still want somebody to tell us what the rules are, how things should work, who stays in what lane, because otherwise you have to really practice self-regulation, and not only self-regulation, but you have to be in tune with the environment around you. So you have to be very able to put your ego in balance and say, sometimes I take, sometimes I give, and I need to decide that sometimes the days I need to give, I might not feel like it, and some days, the days I want to take, I might want to take too much. So it's being a grown-up about it, and a lot of people don't want to do this. So the reason I say all of this is because one of my issues with the idea of God as it comes up in doctrines, having been raised in religion myself, is that God is a man, is that we've humanized God to have human traits. And so we get stuck in this idea of God being the man, God is on the top, God is, and I think that's why I will often, when I'm talking, will say yin and yang, the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine, that it's not about the dad is the head who lays the rules down and the mom is the one that acquiesces and does all the nurturing.
Sometimes, you know, the mom very often is the person that has to be the disciplinarian. And the dad comes in and has all the fun times with the child. But I think the problem is because we have this fear, don't we, when we don't understand something. So like with gender fluidity, because it might not be something that we personally have experienced as in ourselves, we've not felt that uncomfortable nature within our, you know, our sexuality or within our body, within our gender. We can't understand how it must feel for somebody who feels like they're not in the right body.
Absolutely.
Who feels like they're not living authentically to themselves, who can't be true to themselves. So and I think this is the same with when it comes to religion, it was that fear, wasn't it? A lot of the earth-based religions going back before Christianity and the, and all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
religions where there's a male god and god figure. um you had like the high priestess, you had
Yeah,
the where
yeah.
the women were powerful because of the
Yes.
fact that they were,
The birth
the
givers.
birth givers.
Yeah.
And the medicine women and all these kind of things. And again, it was fear that's, stamped down on it for so long.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And
And the realization of
of trying
there
to
is, I
keep
mean, there is a
things
fact
small.
of the in when you're fully realized in the masculine energies,
Mm.
there is a physical prowess that often it overrides when you're in the feminine
Yeah.
energies, and it is there. Like, it's,
Yeah.
I don't want to say men are stronger, because some women are really bloody strong,
Oh yeah.
but when you're fully realized in that masculine ideal, and you recognize that in the short term, that power, that
Mm.
physical prowess, can
Yeah.
bash a lot of things down. You can take a lot of power in those moments. Whether you can hold it and whether anybody loves you after that is
Yes.
another thing. But that starts to happen. And I think
Mm.
we've seen that throughout history, when, especially when you've had very matriarchal environments.
Yes.
When you get the outside influence coming in, they're bringing that in with them.
But that you find, don't you, very much with the societies and the cultures where, they're a bit more isolated, so we don't have the outside influences with them, that very often women are revered within them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
women
Yeah.
are because there's not been that outside influence that's come in and been like,
This is the way it's going to be.
this is the way we do it. um and I think we can go the other way. We can be, I don't think we should be men bashing either.
No,
That
no,
I
no.
think
I'd
we
like to think we're going to grow beyond that at some point.
yeah, we're going to grow beyond. I think really the need to express gender.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like, I am me.
That there's only one lane and you have to stay in that lane and
Yeah.
never move beyond it, kind of thing. I'd like to think we're going to grow beyond that.
We're changing. It's slow, but it's going. I think it's going, definitely.
And that's, if it leads into almost the
The
lovers,
lovers.
that if you can have that duality,
Yeah.
like traditionally I was always taught that the lovers, it was the coming together of the male and female, because it's creation, not necessarily just actual physical procreation, but the creation of, you've got all this learning that's come here, and now what do you do with it? So it's almost like you're a school leaver, right? We're going to send you out into the world, you're a school leaver, you're going off, and like a school leaver, at 18, 19, 17, whatever it is, you're full of piss and vinegar, and you're going to charge out into the world, and you're going to stamp your stamp on the world, and you're going to show it the way it is, like the person in the chariot who's going to war, and they're leading the charge, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to get out there, and you're protesting, and you're making your choices heard, and you're making your ideals heard, and you get out there, and it's absolutely wonderful.
But again, there's a reminder of that need for balance.
The need for balance, absolutely.
Because we pull one way too far,
yeah,
and the chariot is going to
tumble over,
at speed. So,
well, it's how we come into taming the strength, isn't it?
Yes.
That you've charged ahead, you've screamed at everyone, you've stamped down, you've lit your fires, you've run around with your tiki torches, you've done your thing, and suddenly you're getting a lot of blowback, and people aren't happy about it, and you feel like, but what I'm saying has truth and merit, why won't anyone pay attention? And it's because we haven't learned to temper how we put that across, that we're trying to beat people into submission, rather than saying, can I just put forth my thoughts, and you and I will talk,
because the lovers traditionally was about choices.
Yes.
In the Marseille tradition, because so it's about the choices we make, isn't it? When I think with these three in particular, we all have that choice. We all have free will. And when we come to the lovers, we're starting to realize that we do have that free will.
Yes.
The Hierophant or the education system can be very constrictive. We've got to live in this way, and we've got to, it's very much been a one size fits all, education system here in the UK. If you're not necessarily academic, well, it's tough, and again, we're getting changes, but the lovers is that between that choice between what we think of as being right and what we desire.
Yes. Yeah.
Because in the
Yeah.
Marseille, it's the man is standing between two women,
That's right.
and one. I'm never quite sure if one's supposed to be the mother and one's the wife, and choosing between that desire and that feeling that of loyalty and
Duty.
duty. That was the word I was looking for. Or whether one's supposed to be the wife and one's supposed to be the lover, the more glamorous one, the more
Or
glamorous.
whether one's the old, like you're leaving behind one and you're
Yes.
going to the new and the young, and you're moving in
Yeah.
between something fresh. You're going from the staid, the rules,
Yes.
like you live in my house, these are the rules. You're leaving that and you're now taking something completely new, completely untested, completely
Yeah.
untried, and you're going to run with that. Well, like we do with our first relationships
Yeah,
when we leave
so
home, right?
we go, don't we? We don't necessarily think about the consequences.
No.
The chariot, we're blindsided. All we want to do, and sometimes, that first flush of love, we shut out everything else, and we just to be within that's with that person.
We create our own boundaries,
Yeah,
don't we?
of
We
course
create our
we
own
do.
strictures, and we tend to,
And we don't. There's no balance, and we go totally. We come crashing down like the chariot does if we pull too hard in
either
one
side.
way.
And I think also with the chariot, it's that idea of our ideals are so strong and pure and untested that it never occurs to us they could be not wrong, but that they're not the only way.
Yeah,
we're so convinced
we're like, this is how it is, because we don't have this experience of this whole
seeing the world. That if people only saw it my way, the world would be a better place. That's kind of the chariot. And if you learn how to temper it, well, you come into the battle with strength then, don't you? And again, the infinity symbol, this is the ever, do you know what this makes? It's the mirroring, but it also makes me think of your internal wars, your internal battle of between, do I walk softly or do I come stomping in? What do I do? Because in any given moment when we interact with others, especially if we're in a position of responsibility, we can choose to be heavy handed, right? We can choose to come in and stomp it down and yell and scream. And what we find when we do it,
it doesn't
we get a lot of blowback. And so it's that constant chat between, like, when somebody really upsets you, I don't know, you're out in the shop. So I was out in the shops, and this woman, I was at the market, and I was trying to buy some vegetables, and I'd been moving. It's in a square, isn't it? The vegetable stand. So I'm moving around this vegetable stand because the lady's asking me what I want. And this other lady, she was an older woman, and she came and she was in the queue, because the queue's on one end of the stand. So she was directly between me and what I needed to get a hold of. And I don't think she realized I was being helped. So I think in her mind, I was pushing in. And I was trying to, and at first I apologized, and I said, I'm really sorry, and and she was glaring at me, like she was giving me such evils. And even though she could see I was being helped by the woman, like the woman already had a bag of stuff, so clearly I'd been helped. She was glaring at me. So I moved round to the far side of the square. And as the lady was totting up all my stuff, I looked up, and this woman was glaring at me. She was giving me such evils, and I felt this instantaneous annoyance because of the injustice of it. I was so annoyed because I thought, you're standing in the way of where people are trying to get to. I'm trying to get help so I can get out of the way so you can then get served. Why are you looking at me like that? And this is the strength. In that instant, part of me wanted to say something. That childlike annoyance wanted to yell across the stand, "Oi, what's your problem?" And what would that have done, right? It would have done nothing. Now, in my younger incarnations, I would have let rip. I'd have let that lion come out and gone, "I'm going to tell you, don't you treat me." But hopefully with age and wisdom
and a deep breath,
you kind of go, do you know what? There was clearly a misunderstanding. It's a complete irrelevance. It's a non-starter. I'm not even going to bother with this. So I just nodded and smiled, and I left.
And it's like, do you know what? that's looking at things from your point of view, but from my point of view, actually, I know I am right in this case.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have that. Sometimes rather than asking, saying that I'm always right, or we say with the chariot, don't we? It's very black and white. It's and we see through naivety and immaturity, we see that I'm always right type of thing. But strength is having that. I think that ability to say, yeah, I might be right, but sometimes it's better to be, I suppose, happy or
Yes.
kind
Yes.
than to be right.
Yes.
And to just let go with the knowledge that, you know what, I'm right. And you'd think that, well, that, you could look, couldn't you? That woman could have been having a really difficult time, or you might be, the the catalyst for the fact that she's been having a really horrible time, and it's just like, I just want to go and get served, and maybe, but
well, for all I know, maybe this is the third visit to this stand where somebody's
where
pushed in front of her.
it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what her situation is.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I was listening to a really interesting interview with a gentleman who talks about the nervous system, and he was talking about people who have a healthy nervous system still feel the same emotions as everybody else, but they'll feel their anger for like 3 minutes, whereas a lot of people will feel it for 3 days or 3 weeks.
And it's the ability to know that anger isn't you.
No.
That's just something you are feeling. You are not
You've been
that
challenged.
anger. But so if you can look at it that I'm not an angry person at this moment, I'm feeling angry, but that's just an emotion, and I can choose to feel that, or I can choose to let it go. And I think anger is one thing. I think when we get things like sadness, that's more difficult, because sadness is usually caused by something horrible happening. Maybe by losing somebody. But it's whether we choose, or whether we allow ourselves to be sucked in, or whether we allow ourselves to grieve and to mourn, and to also take steps to help ourselves as well. Which I don't mean that to sound disrespectful. I work a lot with people that, have lost people and that are grieving. But there has to be an element of just taking very small steps to help yourself as well.
And everything is a yin and a yang. So your loss brings whatever that loss is, whether that loss is of a loved one, or an actual person, or a pet,
situation,
maybe
career,
anything. Maybe you've lived under a certain ideology all your life, and suddenly you've come to an awareness that ideology hasn't been suiting you, and you see the cracks, and everything you believed that you based your foundation and values on suddenly comes crashing away. And it's not that you shouldn't feel the pain and work through the pain, but everything is a yin and a yang. So you have the right to feel the pain, but there is also, if you want to not stagnate, you need to then be able to find in yourself at some point a balance that actively chooses, even when it doesn't feel like it's working, to say, I'm going to try and move away from this. I'm not going to become mired in it. And I think a lot of the world at the moment, and all of us, we get mired in it. We feel so much fear that we react in explosive ways. And the idea, and this is where, again, okay, so if we're moving along, we lead into the hermit.
We do.
When you have enough of your charging ahead and your explosions of strength, and you keep running into obstacles, you keep running into barriers, you keep running into discomfort and upset, and nothing fits right, and you don't know why, and you have to, then the hermit brings you the self-examination
again, with that
in line with
within. So here we are really in the high priestess. We are within ourselves, aren't we? Because we've still got, that we're still at that stage of innocence where logic hasn't destroyed things within the inner knowledge, but we're going back round and we're rediscovering that inner strength, that inner knowing, that that ability to go within, to get to know ourselves. I think these are really interesting when we look down at especially these two lines, because here we've got, these are all cards of power. We've got the, the charging ahead kind of energetic power that we do for making decisions.
You can manifest anything. You've got the whole world is at your feet.
And then we've got this gentle power. I always refer to strength as a peaceful warrior.
Yes.
Because we've got that where, we can solve things with kindness as well as, or it's that realization that strength doesn't have to mean raising your voice or being or raising your fists. It can be sometimes, or very often, we're stronger by addressing things with words, with kindness, with actions of peace, bringing peace to the situation. And then we've got the devil where it's that abuse of power almost. But here we've got the with the high priestess, we've got that inner knowledge, and the hermit, that rediscovering of the inner knowledge, and the tower of breaking down the illusion of everything that we've known up to this point. So sometimes it's almost like we could see the tower as being the body, of either of the hermit or the high priestess, and the body, because death destroying the body, and the liberation of the spirit, if we want to go really deep into it.
Well, I think of it, I agree with you, because I see this as the magician has the complete power at his, because we're doing the yang, so at his fingertips. And is he going to use that to manifest things in a really honest, altruistic way, or is he going to use sleight of hand to trick you all and to be the guy, the snake oil salesman, right? You have a choice here of which direction you're going to go, and that's where your strength is. Is your strength going to allow you to be, this is very clear looking, right? It's very clean card. It's open. It's symmetrical. It's lovely. This is the addiction card. This is the smallness card. This is the, you've become sold, the obsession card. You've become sold an idea, and you've chained yourself to that idea or that literal addiction. It might be substances, it might be shopping, it might be gambling, it might be anything. You are addicted to it, and your world then goes in an inward spiral. It goes smaller and smaller and smaller while you're controlled by it. How do you use your strength? Do you know what I mean? With all of this power that's manifested for you, are you going to use it to be gentle and move along and learn? Or are you going to allow yourself to be made small by it? Because again, in the flow of yin and yang, as big as this card is with all the power and potential in it, if you use it for nefarious reasons, it will chain you in the end. It will bring you to this. And it will bring you down. At some point, it will bring you down. Even after your death, your legacy can be destroyed, because it's inevitable that the more yang you become, you are going to then have the opposite of the yin, and become inward, cycling round and round and round. And the same with the high priestess. This is for me the adult stepping away. This is when you go, do you know what? You reach that point where you're like,
I'm going to follow my own
path. I'm going to follow my own path. I've been out, I've been partying. I've been told that I need to go to concerts and festivals and go out and travel, and I need to do all of these things. And I've done them all, and I've done them in the way I understand in this manifestation. And I just keep running into crap. I can't seem to keep a relationship going. My jobs don't feel fulfilling. I seem to can't do right for doing wrong. I feel awkward in social situations. I don't know how to exist. I need to retreat for a while. I need to reassess what is going on. And hopefully in that reassessment and that understanding that strength is gentle power, is that you start looking inside to recognize, wait a minute, this is when, if we're at our healthiest in our nervous development, our nervous system development, and our spiritual development, this is the point in our lives when we'll go, hang on a minute, is it me? When we have the guts to look in the mirror and really ponder everything and go, am I a victim here? Is it always the outside world? Or are there elements of my life that I have chosen to give up power for because I have to be a grown-up to take the power back, and I haven't wanted to? And maybe I'm not so much the victim I thought I was. Maybe I made choices that enabled some of the things, not all, Not all. There are
But-
some things that happen to you that are wheel of fortune that are manifest on you and you had no choice in them. But even in that, you then have the choice after the fact of, does that define me for the rest of my life, or do I find a way to work through it? And that I want to state this, because people who may end up watching this, who may have suffered horrendous abuses, people who may have suffered at the hands of those who were their carers and their protectors and were cruel to them, none of it is your fault, ever. This never stops happening. This needing to go back and reassess whether those awful events are leading your life or whether you are slowly untangling yourself from them. That is a daily revisiting to decide, what is it today? Does it have me by the short and curlies today? Is it controlling me? Or am I going to step back today and go, do you know what? I'm going to find things that I am grateful for in the now, and I'm going to put all of my energy into focusing on them, because very slowly and incrementally it will pull you out of the darkness. But you'll be doing it the rest of your life. It's not, there's no end game to this. This is a constant revisiting of, where am I at in my life?
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And I think with the hermit, it is that reminder that, it's, what do I need today to heal? What do I need today to do today to heal? And maybe that's just do nothing. For one day, do nothing. Or do things that make you feel good.
Well, I say this to my clients all the time, and I'm also learning to do it myself. I have to remind myself every day. The hermit for me is my time of mindful meditation I do every day. That's my hermit time. When I sit down and I anchor myself at the beginning of a day and then at the end of the day to release, I'm finding it, when I've missed doing it, I notice I'm not settled. I need to do it because it allows me to then reassess how I coped in that day, what things were good, what things could be changed, what things was I uncomfortable with, and then sit with that discomfort and go, why was I uncomfortable with it? And it's okay that I was uncomfortable with it.
I think we're very quick, aren't we, to replace those feelings of discomfort with something else, whether it's food, whether it's alcohol, whether it's nicotine,
TV, social media,
your phone scrolling, because it stops us from thinking, it stops us from feeling. And sometimes we just need to
feel. We need to sit with it.
And I think, for anybody that is struggling, the fact that, maybe you need to sit with somebody as well.
Absolutely.
Don't try and go through this on your own. There's counselors and therapists out there that can help you with that. And maybe sometimes we have to remember that we need the guidance. We've got the light within the lantern. Now that's the inner light, but we need somebody to bring that wisdom out.
Still need the light there.
Somebody to just guide us, just for now, into that, that better place, that better state of mind.
And I think when you do that, again, following the cards and moving into the Wheel of Fortune, it gives you the chance to catch your breath and feel balanced enough to understand that sometimes I charge, sometimes I'm gentle, and the wheel will still turn.
It doesn't matter
what I do. It doesn't matter. So that's why your choice and agency is so vital. I think this card really talks about that, because everything is going to happen. This for me is like the ocean's currents. This is the flow of the planets in the universe. Everything that you put, what did they say? If you put something in the ocean, given enough time, it will float back to you. So anything is possible and anything can happen. And if you are grounded enough, you can stay balanced on that wheel so that when it downturns, you understand that while I have to ride this downturn, it will move up. It is the inevitability of the flow of the universe. And that when we open ourselves to all those possibilities, when we feel the negative downturn, I always see this as your little devil downturn, when it drops, we don't have to be consumed by it.
No, that is very true. And I think, we have to remember with the wheel, there are things within our lives that are going to happen, that are fixed points within our lives, such as birth and death, and then taxes, and then there's those things that I think probably are the things we've chosen to experience for
Yes,
growth,
yes, yes.
that will be there no matter what, but it's how we choose to ride it out,
Yeah,
and how we respond to it. It's also, if you did 2 lines of cards rather than 3, that it is a halfway point.
it's a halfway point in your
So
journey.
are you going to
Yeah,
go back, or are you going to go forward? Are you going to explore, the inner world, if you like? We've had a glimpse of it here with the hermit, and maybe a glimpse of it with the high priestess, with that that sort of innocence. And
yeah,
but are you going to really sort of take it forward, and go and look at the lessons that life brings us? That
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like the dark night of the soul, or shadow
yeah,
work,
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? Are we going to address those things that we shove down, or are we just going to stay here
Yes.
and just experience everything in quite a, I don't know if shallow way is the right
I
word,
think
but
it's a
on
stagnating
a,
stagnating way.
super, yeah, a
It's like moving back
superficial.
home and staying back home again, moving back into your old bedroom, moving and not as a stopgap or a temporary thing while you then regroup and move forward, but as a no, I'm going to go back and hide. I'm going to
Yeah,
hide in the structures that told me this is what I think happens when people get stuck in a lane. They
yeah,
go back and they get stuck in a lane. They go back and look for people to tell them what to do, to tell them how to live, to say, if you eat this food, you're a good person. If you eat that food, you're a bad person. It's like you become a child again because you're so tired of all that you've made all these decisions,
mm.
that you've done all this learning, and you still can get dumped on your ass.
Yes,
And this feeling, and I think this is a danger that we have in our world, where we have given so many generations this indoctrinated idea that if you do ABCD, you will without a doubt get EFGH, and
yeah,
that's not the way life works.
no,
And this brings it, and that's why I think it sits next to justice,
mm.
because it's the understanding that my version of justice does not mean it's your version
Yes,
of justice. And that if you I remember a bloke I knew years ago telling me that he traveled in India. I don't know how true this story is, but it's a good allegory, so I'm going to use it. He was traveling in India, and he was in an area of India where they it was part of the hashish trade,
okay,
and that it was just accepted in this area that people used hashish. Nobody was bothered about it. It was demystified. Nobody cared. But there was an alcoholic in the village, and
okay.
the alcoholic was shunned because
But
alcohol was
yes,
seen
seen
as
as
this
being
evil, awful thing, right? Well, imagine them coming here, what they would think of us, where
yeah
alcohol is literally everywhere.
everywhere.
You're encouraged to, it's
If
Friday night,
if
get
you
your
don't
wine. And
drink, it's like, what's wrong with
there's
you?
signs that you can put up that say things like those banal signs of wine o'clock and all of this
Yes,
sort of nonsense.
it's
So
5 o'clock somewhere,
this is
or
it. And it's
yeah,
only been recently that people have been more accepting of things like hashish and marijuana
yeah,
as a mainstream thing. So it's that idea that this to me is a real growing up
yes.
set, because this is realizing that no matter what you've learned and what you've
Sometimes you're going
done,
to end up on your butt.
sometimes you're going to end up on your bum, and that your version of justice and your version of fairness and
Isn't,
your is not the universe's version of it.
and sometimes I was reading, because I've just got the Good Fortune Tarot by Barbara Moore wrote the book, and Jessica Rue, I think her name is the artist. And it's very much Rider Waite based, but it explores the Marseille.
Okay.
It's got tinges of the Marseille, shall we say, little gems of the Marseille in it. And one of them is the fact that actually in the Justice's knee is nudging the scales. Now I don't think it is in this, but if
No,
you
it's to
look,
the side
but in
there.
the Marseille, in some versions of the Marseille, Justice has actually got her knee up and she's nudging the scales ever so slightly. I'd never noticed it before, but yeah, I've looked back, and it's a
Which
thing
is that awareness then
that
of that feeling of injustice,
yeah,
that there are people, and we're seeing this in the world a lot at the moment on
yes,
display, that the establishment, they have it tipped in their favor.
yes,
And
or
that's what
they're
this would have been like,
tipping it in their
or they're
blooming,
tipping it in their favor. And if you think about the traditional idea that
yeah,
these cards come from, kings, queens, people in power, lords, ladies, barons, baronesses, whatever, emperors, empresses, wherever you were in the world, they control the narrative. They balance things to how they want. And so it brings you almost inevitably, because of the frustration this can create, you feel so hard done by here that the world is pointless and what's the point, that you have to become the hanged man, because you need to take a breather and you need to decide, are you going to be embittered by the world? Are you going to look around and go, everything is just poo and I'm done with my life and I hate everybody and I'm going to become the ultimate naggy, horrible person who hates everyone? Or am I going to look at the world differently?
Am I going to change my perspective?
I'm going to change myself and die to myself. Am I going to change myself? Am I going to look and realize that while there are injustices, I still can have agency? And even within an injustice, you can still find your way to get a win.
Look at the similarities between the high priestess and justice, because they've both got this curtain behind them. But look, the high priestess you've got the display of what's behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Justice
the universe,
isn't
it's
given.
hidden.
It's hidden.
Yeah.
It's hidden.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be looked at as, what we're not being shown.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's making,
and that there are times where fighting a frontward battle, a forward moving battle, is not always the way to deal with things. That sometimes you have to be a little bit Machiavellian, that sometimes you have to be a little bit not reticent. You need to step back a little bit, and you need to observe the situation. You get dumped on your ass. You've got incredible level of injustice happening to you in your perception. So how do you work your way through that?
So what are you going to do now?
And
sometimes, and the hanged man is very much, as well as like looking at things from a different perspective, it's that encouragement to say, maybe you just need to pause for a minute and just do nothing.
Yes.
And really, again, going within.
Yeah.
It's that, because it's Odin, isn't it? Hanging from the world
Hanging
tree.
From the world tree. Yes.
It's that introspection.
Yes.
To gain that view of the world.
Well, it's a deeper inner view. It's an understanding that if you only view things from the microscopic with the blinders on, you see only a very narrow point of view. In fact, Sally Nichols' book, it kind of ties this in a little bit, where she was talking about the fool and the magician, and she was talking about that we've created this world of boxes.
Yeah.
That to see the fool is the 360 degree view. The fool can be anything and everything all at once, right? And the magician is more in the square. And that when you stand in a room that is all windows, you see a 360 degree view of the world. But we've created a world where we live in boxes that are squares. A square is not infinite. A square is finite. A square requires precise, exact measurements, whereas the circle needs the center circumference. It needs to be centered, and then you can draw the perfect circle because it follows that circumference. But the square only allows you to see within the realms of what that square window shows you. So you are seeing a very narrow view. You can't see behind the house. You can't see to the sides. You can only see what's in front of you. And the hanged man, I think, it brings you this idea of, maybe I need to see the world in 360 degrees, and even if I don't agree with it, I don't necessarily have to like it. I don't even have to take it on board,
but I have to
acknowledge
it through that
there.
Perspective.
Absolutely.
See it through somebody else's eyes.
Yes.
And again, it's the growth, isn't it? We've got the growth along here.
It's a living tree. He's hanging from a living tree. This isn't a dead thing. This isn't somebody who's died. This is somebody, and we've talked about this before, with the symmetry of the arms and the four of the legs. This is a resting as well.
Stable.
It's a stable. He's made a choice to hang upside down to see what he can see. And that's very, very important, because it gives you agency. This isn't that somebody's thrown you over a tree and left you to rot. You've chosen to do this in a very balanced way. And he's enlightened.
He is enlightened.
It's going, wah!
And he's, like we said before, he's mirroring the legs are mirroring, the world.
The world, yes.
How how he stands. and he hasn't quite got that liberation, the freedom of the world, but
No,
we're getting there.
but we're getting there.
We're moving
along.
towards it. You know, she's the world is a lot more fluid in the way she's.
The world is when you've come to the end of your journey and you go back to being the fool, you have complete agency. You're completely grounded in yourself to the point where you can then be free. She's naked, right?
Yeah.
She can be free. She's chucked off all those vestments because she's like,
She
dude, I've seen it. I've done it. I know who I am because of that. You're not going to trip me up with any of this stuff now because I'll see you coming. I can just be floating and free, whereas he is still in his vestments.
Still there.
It's lines, isn't it? It's definitive lines in this one.
And I think, you know, we're having that chance to consider in the Hanged Man what we need to let go of in death.
Yes, absolutely.
What is no longer serving us, what we can change, what we can transform about ourselves into it, to being able to move forward. And if we don't move forward in death, we're going to end up in here. We're going to end up with the devil and ultimately the tower.
And I kind of see that with this card as well, because you've got one looking away.
Yes.
And I don't know if people can. I'm going to hold that up slightly. I hope that stays in focus.
You've got the looking away, but you've also got different people. So you've got the clergy there,
supplicant.
Yes, and you've got the king there.
He's been trampled.
That death does not discriminate. No. Death is something that's going to happen to all of us, isn't it?
Yes. And small deaths as well, not just the big idea of somebody leaves this earth and never comes back, but it's the idea that you will come across so many small deaths, the deaths of childhood dreams or the deaths of beliefs that you had, all these little things.
Some things that are really dear to us, that we've held dear to us, you know, like maybe religious beliefs, maybe, you know, something that we
your belief in structure,
or something that we've put on a pedestal. You know, we put people on pedestals, don't we?
And your belief in the status quo and the structure
being broken down.
Yeah,
because with this death here, we're being offered that chance of temperance. Afterwards, we got offered that chance to rest, to find that balance once again.
Well, again, it's like birth, isn't it?
Yeah.
What you've got is you've got both things pouring one into the other, 1 foot in the water. It's like a childlike card.
Yes.
It's you've had this death. What do you do with this? What do you do with this fresh start? This is a clean. Are you going to now be like a child and run off in the chariot and bash everything? Or are you going to use this temperance to understand that I can take these past experiences and lessons, and through this death, I can learn how I'm going to walk forward in a gentle manner.
Yes, and she's very much a card of moderation as well. So
it's a soft card, isn't it? It is.
I think sometimes it can be known as the alchemist, because very often she's seen as mixing oil and water.
Yeah.
So it's that blending of, I suppose, the parts of ourselves. It's a blending of ourselves with maybe people that before we've, you know, shunned or
and our learnings. I think it's our lessons. It's blending those lessons to hopefully be balanced.
She's got 1 foot on the ground, you know, on the physical ground. She's got 1 foot in the water, which represents the
higher self,
or even, you know, the spirit. So she's balanced with that. She's exploring that. It's quite tentative, isn't it? But she's got 1 foot solidly, firmly on the ground, and she's dipping her toes in. She's exploring the meaning behind it. The sun's rising again in the background here. We've got that sunrise once again. So whatever we've been through here, the sun will continue to rise.
It will set and it will rise. And I think it's an interesting juxtaposition, because you've got the angel and the demon, right?
We've got the wings.
And I think it's an interesting, that's why I pointed out this one looking away, because despite all the learnings,
sometimes
there
we
will
don't
always
want...
there's sometimes we don't want to take that learning on, and despite this beautiful gentleness being offered, balance and steadiness,
we go here.
We fall into this. We fall into, I'm going to keep go. What is it? Keep doing the same thing and expecting different results is the mark of insanity.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to do with this card. This is, I know that when I go out on the weekends and I imbibe too much of whatever it is and I party and I live my life in this wild, hedonistic, wild, abandoned, libertarian idea of do what you want, live your life, and you'll sleep when you're dead. It all sounds really lovely, but it's got a shelf life on it that's very short.
There's a price to pay for it.
There is a price to pay because the only way you can go is chained.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, you know, we've got the sunrise here, but if you choose not to see what's
possible,
yes, you're in this darkness here, and the only light is coming from the devil's torch, and which he's allowing you to see what, because he's not holding the torch up, he's not showing you. It's almost like the moon, you know, the moon shows you bits but not everything, and the devil's choosing what you see there.
I think so, and I've heard it described before, and I like this: is the devil has become bigger and bigger and bigger, and this has become smaller and smaller and smaller, and your light is only. It's almost like the idea of the cave, isn't it? It just occurred to me that we should maybe have covered these two up, because apparently YouTube can get a little bit funny.
We've got
about these. Oh well. Live and learn.
Well,
there's a learning anyway.
We've got the star and the world as well.
We've got them all over. So anyway, if this gets pulled, it gets pulled. Oh well. But I do think that it shows you how easily we can become. We think we're leading. We think but we're not. We're being led by something, because I find that for me, the devil card is an absolute rejection of expansion and growth.
Oh yes,
it's this idea of keeping you small. It's this idea of, I like my life is fine as it is. I don't care that I'm harming myself, because I don't want to face that right now. I'm just going to barrel through, and it's inevitable is the tower then, but because at some point it has to break,
because there's a way out, because although they're chained, their hands aren't bound, are they?
No, and the chains are loose around their neck. You just lift it over your head. Absolutely.
But it's that choosing not, and they're not even blindfolded. You know, they're just choosing not to see the truth, because they're not actually looking at the devil, are they?
No, they're not. They're looking outward, and in a way they're looking down at their own chains. Yeah. And there's this idea that I'm chained, but you're not chained.
Yeah, I'm in control.
You can choose to just pull that off and leave, but often we're forced to do it through the tower.
Because if we don't allow it to happen here with death, which is a more gentle, a more natural process, a softer process, a tower comes in and kicks your ass. It's really known as the oh shit card, because it's.
Well, there was again in the Sally Nichols book, there was an interesting bit about in order to have a miracle, you need to have people around you to give it agency. Yeah. And it's almost the direct inverse of what happens in the tower, is that in order to take your chains off and move ahead, you have to fall. You have to be, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
So you're not going to create or do or manifest unless you need it. It's the need that creates the miracle. Otherwise, you're just a charlatan standing there doing crazy stuff. So you need that drive. And sadly, like I said, this is almost the inverse, that we're forced into it because the rug just gets pulled. The universe goes, do you know what, you've done the yin and yang, you've gone so far inward into this yin that we're going to force the yang out by just crashing everything down.
Because if you look here, so the hermit has got the cape is covering his head, he's got the hood, the high priestess has the triple moon crown. Well, the crown here is being blown off, and it's almost like it can be seen as, you know, having that foundation. If we're in knowledge, you know, especially if we're sort of looking at the realities, you know, the possibilities of life, the inner journey, but then on this road we're sort of like looking at life, aren't we? And how it, you know, here we're looking at ourselves, but here we're looking at life, and you know,
the
how
bigger
we
picture.
fit in, and And when we look at like the possibilities of the universe, and the secrets that are there, and I don't mean the conspiracy theories, but I just mean the fact that life doesn't end, in my opinion, when your physical body dies, but it goes on, and we experience so much more. But if we haven't got a grounding in life and in knowledge, when we come to learn these things, it's like blows your mind.
It
It's
does
like,
blow your
wow,
mind.
and that can very much, it also makes me think of, when you have spirit communication and you hear voices, that thought of, are the people that are hearing voices, that it's being treated as, schizophrenia or mental illness, when because they haven't had that grounding within.
Yes.
And I'm really not trying to sort of say that there aren't, that every case is like that. I'm really not, because there's genuine cases. But we do, don't we? We hear of people that said, I thought I was going mad because I kept hearing voices, and it turns out that it's
you talking to you, absolutely, coming through, trying to say, excuse me, but you're not listening to these other parts of me. And I think that the tower becomes here we've had small deaths. This is a big ending. This is a crash card, because this is saying you haven't listened, you got stuck again.
It's a breaking down.
It's a breaking down of everything.
It very much, I've read about the tower being described as a fairy tale tower. I hope I didn't say this last time, but if I did, I'm sorry. And the princess thinks she's safe in the tower, but actually she may feel safe, but she's being harmed because she's being kept away from everything. In there's a whole world to explore. So it's that breaking down of the tower, of that structure.
I almost see also the tower, you could use the allegory, well, it's not an allegory, you could use it as an allegory for what happens in real life with like a brush fire. A brush fire happens, or brush fire happens because the earth naturally needs to scorch itself in order to have all of those plants. Then they become ash, they drop into the earth, their nutrients all take there, and then the earth grow. And then you see, after a brush fire, you see like 6 months, a year later, you see this beautiful green lush land coming back to its life. And it's the inevitability of it, that we are going to have those times in our life when everything crashes in, and it's
we have to rebuild.
And I think it's really important to recognize that it's not, you're not being judged. It's not happening to you because you did something or didn't do something in an existential way. It's the inevitability of, you have to have brush fires sometimes to clear the deck in order for new growth to come up. And to me, that's why it fits with the star follows, because this is the universe. This is the stars. This is the possibility of, like, people looking up into the night sky and going, what possibilities are out there? That's what lying. If you think of it this way, the story is your tower's crashed down, it's burned to the ground, it's in rubble. So you got to go to sleep the next night. Where are you going to sleep? Well, you're on the ground staring up at the stars. And you start to dream of, what can I rebuild with? What can I do? How do I create a new world? It's hopeful. It's full of dreams and possibilities. I mean, the fact that she's pouring water both into the water and on land is saying, in heaven and on earth, you are in between it. The stars are everything. And what do you want to pour in to create that amazingness?
But so we've got the similarities between Temperance and the Star, with the foot in the water. But now it's almost like we're bowing down to it.
Well, again, she's naked. She's all the clothing is gone. The falsehoods we tell ourselves.
Accepting, really embracing it, I think, is the word.
You're living it now. You're embracing it. It's not coming from your cognitive front brain. It's coming from down in your gut, in your sacral, and your sacral chakra and your root chakra are now, you've embraced it fully, and you're breathing it.
And she's looking into the pool rather than looking up.
Controlling it in a small way. You're doing this
now. It's surrendered.
She's opened her arms. She's just pouring it. She's not even worrying about where it's going. She's just pouring it.
It's a card of healing. It's a card
of
guidance as well. That that guidance from
look up. about look up,
because
look out
if we
and up.
think in, and look at the Bible, and the kings followed the star,
Yeah,
if we
absolutely.
take that
Absolutely. The
rhetoric,
explorers did. The early explorers followed the stars. I mean, that's
yeah.
what you did. It was looking up to the stars and what can it represent for us.
So but I think it's even more than that, isn't it? It's that healing that we're receiving, and that guidance that we don't even necessarily need to look, because it's there. And
Yeah.
maybe it's because it's within, because we've finally realized that we are this hermit, we are this high priestess, we've got all these answers within. And so actually, who's going to save us?
We are. And also that all of these structures that you created for yourself that you thought were going to keep you safe, if they are of this earth, they can collapse, they can be destroyed. And that the only thing you have got truly within you is your spirit. That is the only thing that is truly indomitable.
And that can never be destroyed, because
we know
that from scientific research that, energy cannot be destroyed.
Created or destroyed, energy just has it transforms and it mutates and it changes. And I think that's why it's important to juxtapose the stars with the moon, because as you start this journey, you've got the manifestation, you've got the early energy, and now you're back to the yin and the yang, the feminine and the masculine,
looking within again.
Exactly. So do we have, and I like the dogs. For me, the dogs are the spirit,
the wild, the wolf, and we've got like the pet,
the
dog,
domesticated dog.
If you like that wild, intuitive, instinctual, I think is the word, type part of the being. And then you've got the part of you that is still of this world, if you like. It's still, it is still now that little bit of you that still plays ball. And are you gonna let that go? Because this is like these are it's revisiting these, isn't it, with what you've learned, I think.
I agree. I think it's realizing that all these parts, the scorpion, not scorpion, the crab, the crustacean. Thank you. Sorry. That comes out of the water. It's coming from your subconscious onto land, and then you've got the wild and you've got the tamed. And can the two? You can't get rid of one or the other, right? They both exist in you. So you've got the two towers. You've got the light of the moon is going, look, I can illuminate things,
but I'm not sure. I
can't show you everything, and you are going to have to find. The road goes directly between them into the distance. Can you walk it in the middle of that road? Can you understand that sometimes you're the wild wolf and sometimes you're the domesticated dog, and both can exist within you and bring you light and bring you joy and bring you growth? If you can bring those two yin and yang sides, not harmony. Again, and I said this last time and I will reiterate this again because it's such a valuable statement for me. It's not about balance, it's about harmony.
Yes,
it's about harmony, because these things all exist in a constant dance and movement. And through that harmony, you can then plant and grow, and the sun rises on you.
I think that's where we shift, if you like, where we discover that harmony rather than searching for the balance. I think that's where the very subtle shift is towards the bottom row. And
you're not doing the shift on the surface here. This isn't external,
and this is just you, but this is you within the experience of the world, of the universe. This is just you, but this is you as a being of the universe. Where we
the transformation for me here is it is an internal transformation. It's not one you're necessarily putting on display. You don't need to. These transformations were on display. These were like a way of showing the world where I'm at. Like the kid that travels, goes away as a young person, and then they come back like 2 or 3 years later and they've got now long hair or short hair, or they've got a beard or they don't, or maybe they've changed their sex altogether, like whatever. It's on display to say, I'm making my mark. Whereas when you get to this point, you've died to that. This is the recognition that what I am on the inside is sacrosanct anyway. And if it's grounded enough, I don't need to tell you about it, because it will just be. It's like, I don't need to tell you that that's a rock. It is just a rock, right?
And look at the sun in relation to the magician. So and the sun, it's card number 19, isn't it? So we had the 1 and the 9.
Yes.
It
Yes.
goes back to being, it goes to
Back
10
to
and
then
goes back to
1.
1. But if we look at it, so the magician has the power there, and we've got this masculine active side. Now, when we look at the sun, we've got the naked baby.
Yeah.
That is not liked by a lot of people, I know. But I always see this flag as almost being like part of the magician's cape. If you look
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay.
look,
Yeah.
the tunic.
Yeah.
Instead, we've got the white horse. We've got something to carry us forward.
Yeah. 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 I can see that. Why don't people like the baby? I've not
I
heard
think
that.
it's just a bit creepy.
Oh, right.
I think it's just an aesthetic. I've seen it on quite a few things I've watched, but yeah, I think it's to do with the aesthetic.
I think to me, it's joy.
Yeah.
To me, that represents unbridled joy.
Yeah.
That is just like, we've got the flags, the sunflowers are out. I've got the feather on, which is just demonstrating. It's demonstrating that I've achieved, that life is good, that I'm here. I'm full of gratitude. Yeah. I'm full of joy. I've gone through this whole dark night of the soul and all these changes, and now I'm like, I've come out the other side, and I feel this is my triumph, right? I'm doing my triumph parade through Rome. That's what this feels like. It feels really, really good, and I've died to my old self. I'm creating. I think if you looked at this for people who suffer from addiction, for example, that this point here of when you could die to yourself and you could have temperance, but you don't, you fall into your addictions again. You have to leave everything behind. When you truly start fresh, it is a very difficult thing. I'm not saying people don't do it and can't do it, but to go back to your old haunts, to go back to the old hangout places, to go back to the old friends, doing the old things, and still maintain this new, it's very difficult. And when you have a true death to yourself, like that real tower moment where you wake up to who you are, you walk away from an awful lot, and it really does feel like you're rising from the dead. You have an entire new way of looking that is so, it's so ingrained now and grounded and so real for you. You couldn't imagine going backwards to where you were. Yes. That's dead now. This is, you have been called to your new life.
Yes. And I think it is. It's also that card of reflection.
Yes.
Of self-reflection.
Absolutely.
But the fact that it's almost like this angel could be you, because you're judging you. We were talking before, weren't we? The concept of heaven and hell is very much actually a personal thing, isn't it? So and it's, that if you've done something really good and you've helped somebody, you feel good. And if you've done something really horrid to somebody, you replay that, you replay it and you replay it. It's not a physical state, it's more an emotional state, a mental state, where
absolutely
it's karma. But karma's really your own inner being at work, your own inner voice at work.
Have you reached any kind of balance in yourself? And I think that you're right. If you look at that as being yourself,
rather than being judged by other people, it's actually that self-judgment that we face, whether that's throughout life, but also, I suppose, if we're looking at it as a literal journey through life, at that point when we come to pass, you hear of these people, don't you? They say the biggest regrets of the dying. What kind of thing would I have done differently? It all comes together with judgment.
And I also see this, if you're looking at it as being you, these are all the parts of yourself. Yes. These are all your true parts of yourself, and they're all there. The mother, the father, the child, the friends, the teenage you, all of those bits that exist within you, you have now brought them all to chat. They're all around. They're all going to be able to give their input to allow you to have that completion.
You've had that wake-up call to say.
You've had that wake-up call to go, right, I am a multifaceted being. I have multiple layers in me. I have multiple bodies in me, and all of them deserve the right to be there. Even the ones that make me feel uncomfortable, they're there for a reason. And rather than ignoring them and saying I don't like you, so I'm not going to pay any attention, it's about saying to them, why are you here?
Yes.
What do you need to tell me in order for me to live a healthy life? Come and talk to me now. I'm not going to ignore you. I've made love with my shadow side here. We're together again, and we're going, all right, sometimes I like you, sometimes I don't, but we both have the right to exist in this space. How are we going to be combined?
Definitely.
And that's what brings you then to the world. And you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking that
brought all those aspects of the self, everything that we've learned throughout this journey, from being the fool to going on the journey, for the self-exploration, for the learning that we've had from the external world. And then it's like, what have we discovered? One, about ourselves, and what have we discovered about life?
Yes, absolutely.
Not just our life,
but life in general, like the big existential questions.
And what have we discovered about the universe?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I also like that the number is 21, because if you add the 2 and the 1 together, you get 3.
Yes.
And again, it's about manifestation. It's about creation. But you've taken all these lessons, and now, although you've come back to the Fool and the simplification, you simplify, don't you? It's like when I've read books by the brilliant physicist who I liked reading about was Laszlo Irvine, and he talks about the Akashic records and all of this. And one of the things I remember, I think I'm according this to the right person, I hope I am, but I'm sure what I read with his is he was talking about the fact that you do all this learning. So you start off and you're really scared of the subject because it's big. It feels overwhelming. And then you start getting your feet under the table a little bit, and you start gaining a bit of confidence, but it's kind of false confidence because you think you know more than you actually know. And you then, you charge off with this learning, and you think you know all this stuff, and then you kind of get slammed by your peers and by people who've been around longer, and you learn from that, don't you? And you go, oh, I got my fingers burned. So you develop, and you slowly almost come back to really espousing the hypotheses and the ideas you had at the very beginning almost, but you do them now with such a fullness of learning behind you that it's that tail eating itself. It's the Ouroboros. You go around and around and around because the yin goes into the yang. You've learned so much that you're able to be still with it. Like, what do we say about people who are incredibly intelligent or very well versed in a subject? They don't need to tell you they are. They don't need to show up and go, here are all the bajillion letters after my name and I'm so intelligent. It will just leak out of them. You will feel that from them. They will walk in a room and start talking, and you instinctively go, that person knows their shit. And you listen to them. They've got a stillness. Some of the spiritual teachers that I listen to, when they speak with such calmness, steadiness, and assurance that rather than being bored by it, thinking, hurry up, buddy, let's crack on here, you're entranced by it. You're hanging on to their every word, waiting for the next word, because they don't need you to be there. They would be living this life whether you were sitting listening to them or not. They will live that life anyway. And that incredible sense of self is intoxicating. And that's what, to me, the world brings you. It's the cycle that brings you back round to the beginning, but with gravitas.
Like you say, if we add the 2 and the 1 up, and it becomes the 3. And when we go into the numerology around the tarot and around the minors, 3 is the card of growth, isn't it?
It's great. It's manifestation, isn't it? You've taken the 1 and the 2, you've brought the 2 together. And the 2 have created the 3rd, which is the possibilities and the movement and the manifestation. It's a manifestation made real, is what it is.
And it's the freedom that we have when we reach this point, because we have the assurance, we have the experience, we have everything. Sometimes with the magician, we're blagging it a bit.
But here, fake it to make it a little bit.
Fake it to make it till you make it. But when we get to the world, it's like,
we don't need to do. It's like getting older, isn't it? We hit a certain point in our life
and
where
you just think, I don't really care what anybody else
thinks. This is it. I don't have the energy.
I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to be happy.
I don't care. I'm not wearing, I got rid of my heels. I wear flat shoes now. I
Yeah,
wear
me
comfy
too.
clothes. You get to a point where you just think, I have been around
I'm
the block so many times now.
I'm accepting
I'm
who I am.
accepting who I am, because you realize that the things you thought you would be judged on, and the things that you were afraid of, and the things that seem so important genuinely aren't, because everyone is living in their little silos trying to find their
Yeah.
place. And you get to this point where you just go, I'm going to walk my own path, because some people won't walk it. Some people will criticize it, but you know what? There will be people that will join me on it, and they
Because
will become my tribe.
yes, and if we come at things with all those little flaws and the quirks and the unique parts of ourselves that make us who we are, that makes us relatable to other people. If we're there as a polished, perfect, you know, we end up being almost like the Hierophant kind of figure who's put on this kind of, pedestal and worshipped, rather than people joining with you and actually, you don't want to be in
You're
this
on your own.
Hierophant, you know with
All
people
of these,
bowing
though,
at your feet. You don't want to be there. You want to be sort of in there with
with
everybody
the
else,
group.
where you can be yourself and you're not trying to be somebody that you're not. Can I just say as well, I know I've seen quite a lot of people get confused between judgment and justice.
Yes.
And I think judgment is very much that reflection on the self and on our own being, whereas justice is more of an external thing, where it's things that happen.
Justice for me is the more tangible issue of it kind of links with the Hierophant. Justice is about our understanding that the structures that we've grown up under aren't always as straightforward as we think, and that the way that the idea that we've been told, like I said earlier, if you do ABC, the absolute results, that cause and effect, will always be the case. That if I do A, I will get B. If I do A, I will get B, again and again and again. And then you keep doing A, and you think you're going to get B, and you get kicked in the teeth, and you get X. And you're like, how did that happen? I did what you told me to do. Justice is the that kind of growth point in your life, when you go, maybe the world isn't as black and white as I've been led to believe, that there's an awful lot of gray areas, and that my perception of what justice is not another person's perception of what justice is. And that one person might go, well, somebody stole something from the grocery store. If somebody's in a state where they're having to steal food, then you didn't see it, leave them be. Whereas another person will turn around and say, no, theft is theft. And both people have a point. One is looking from an empathetic point of view, and one is looking from more an authoritarian, legalistic point of view, a very strict point of view.
Whereas with judgment,
it's about your inner. Well, if you think about it from the Bible, isn't it? The day of judgment, when the dead shall rise, and everybody comes up again, and they're looked at from on high, and it's judged as to what kind of life did you live. Well, this is what you're doing with yourself.
I suppose you could almost look at it as those people from your past, where how you've treated people in your
absolutely
throughout your life will not come back to you as we're not talking Christmas Carol where we've got the ghost of Christmas past and all those things.
No.
What we're looking at is that remembering of how we were.
I think it's the bringing up of the selves that you ignored. I think judgment is a chance to bring up all those parts of you that were shoved down and were ignored and weren't allowed to develop and were inconvenient and didn't suit the self, the ego told you you were. It's bringing them to the fore so that you're looking at all of those inner parts of yourself to be
that
full.
Complete. That complete thing. But we've not finished here, because we're just going to go around.
We're going to go right back to the Fool, and we start all over again on our next journey.
There's one world card, I think. I'm trying to think which deck it's from. It might be from the Raven's Prophecy, where it's a road and there's two ways to go.
I like
and
that.
And it's like almost like, right, where are you going to go
Which
now?
way are you going to go now? That it's just, like I've said before, to me,
it's like, which path will you take now?
Looking at the tarot is a reminder that life is one big choose your own adventure book. Yeah, that's what it is. There is no right or wrong. There is no, like you said, there's waypoints that you will hit. And I think that's what these cards represent. These are the waypoints that we all come to. This is why I like looking at it from the Jungian philosophy. These are all of your archetypes come to bear in the inevitability of your development. And that's how you come to know yourself. But it is a never-ending journey. It is a
yeah.
constant. You're always going round and round, and
Yeah, I
sometimes you go
mean,
back up, and sometimes you
yeah,
come forward, and it is just the inevitability of growth and evolution.
yeah, definitely. It's fascinating. I
Been,
love
I
it.
really enjoyed this. Thank you very much. This has been really,
I
really
could really
lovely.
geek out on
I
tarot.
could geek out on this for ages, but I
Yeah.
think we have been talking for an awful long time.
Oh my goodness.
Where are we at? We're at an hour and 34 minutes.
Oh my
We've
goodness.
been talking for. So,
well, if you got to the end of this one, wow.
Well done,
you. Were committed.
You have drank a lot of tea or coffee while you've been sat with us. So thank you for staying with us.
Maybe you fell asleep.
Maybe you fell asleep. Maybe our voices put you to sleep. That's okay too.
But if you've enjoyed this, if you like, subscribe.
Yes, do the like and subscribe thing. We hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to try and put a couple of videos out a month.
Yes, and we'll put it out on both channels.
We'll put it on both channels. So again, I'm going to, once yours goes live, I will link yours.
Yes, mine's the Soul Salon.
But the Soul Salon, you are live on Facebook already.
I am on Facebook.
You're on Facebook.
I'm on Instagram as
You're
well.
on Instagram.
You can find me at the Soul Salon on Facebook, and I think on Instagram as well, maybe with some variations of numbers and underscores. I can't remember what my handle is on Instagram, but definitely at the Soul Salon.
At the Soul Salon. And mine at the moment, 8 Red Trees Tarot, is just on YouTube. There may be development further in the future, depending on how we go with this. But at the moment, it's yeah, I guess you would just comment if you wanted to get in touch with me, DM me, and I'm 8 Red Trees Tarot. So
brilliant.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Be well and stay shiny.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye. Bye.